Welcome to Smart Talk. This is Jeff Costello-McFeat. As part of the interview series, this episode covers allowing a candidate to expand on their strengths. Now, at face value, it's quite an easy and straightforward question to answer, but as an interviewer, it can be quite surprising how easily this question can help spread the field, depending on the level of complexity and sophistication that comes up in the answers that candidates give. So I'll walk through some of the typical building blocks of getting through this answer from the candidate's perspective, and that will also give the interviewer some things to watch out for. Thanks for listening. The foundation step to this exercise is to create an inventory of your key strengths. Now, some of these may be innate. You've just always been that way. You were born with a tidy habit or what have you. The other element is those which you've had to work hard at. And in some cases, it's the second category that didn't come naturally to you, that have the more interesting stories behind them. So take the time to have a look through both your business and your personal life and come up with strengths that you feel are really core to who you are. Write them down. Be prepared to be able to give examples of when you exhibited those strengths. And if it's something that didn't come naturally to you, for example, if you were not a naturally organized person, please then walk through the steps. For instance, maybe you came to a juncture in your life where you realized being disorganized was costing you time, money, opportunities, just wasn't how you wanted to live, and you took a decision, took action on it, had the daily discipline to make sure that that happened on an ongoing basis, and just made it a part of who you are. That can be quite a compelling story and something that employers would be keen to hear. Once you've completed an inventory of your key strengths, what you'll notice is that they're really linked inextricably to the values that you hold dear as an individual. There's just such a strong interconnection here. There's no way to separate them. So that's also an element which is really quite important for a company. In an interview, one of the questions that you might be wanting to ask of an employer is, what are their values? What do they hold dear? What's important to them? What's their priorities? And you can really assess where you may or may not fit into an organization that feels and thinks in a certain way. And an outfit also will be looking for how you would fit into it. So this is a really great way for you to explain what is important to you, your values, and where they came from. They may have been the result of inspiration from early childhood, a mentor, a work colleague, something that happened that you had to struggle through. And there's always very interesting personal stories surrounding what people really hold core and dear to their hearts, and then how that affects their behavior. Here's an example of how you might phrase a strength, give its origin story, and explain how it is just wrapped around values that are important to you. So, for example, for me, one of my strengths would be having a very hard work ethic. I can trace that back to, at age 5, my father giving me a shoe shine kit as a birthday present, with the understanding that at the age of 5, it was now time that I was to be a man in the world and start to earn a bit of a living instead of needing pocket money from my parents at all times. Although I was not actually allowed to go out onto the streets of Washington, D.C. as a 5-year-old by myself and shine shoes, I did use that shoe shine kit, and I did shine the family's shoes and other people's shoes, and I would get a dime or a quarter or whatever for it. But that early spark of being self-reliant and earning money and having that work ethic connected to income was a really valuable lesson. Fast forward, I think when I was about 10 or 12, I started my own business doing landscape work, gardening. I had business cards printed up. I went around the neighborhood, knocked on doors, introduced myself, explained just what I could do, what my hourly rate was. I think it was $5 an hour in those days. Gave them my business card and lined up work. And then after doing that for some time, I went into partnership with a friend of mine, and through the high school years, we did house painting, car washing, garden maintenance, general odd jobs, and between us, the two of us were able to handle much more work than just the one, and do jobs quicker and more effectively. And again, that drove home and instilled this. And then I could just translate that out into my earliest jobs and then thereafter. But it's just a simple way of connecting something that's really deep and core to your personality, with a strength and a value that an employer is going to sit back and see that is a highly transferable skill that is going to be applicable no matter what situation you find yourself in. And certainly companies looking for strong, flexible, capable people, those are the kind of values that they're going to be looking for. And if you can phrase it in a good but true story like mine, then that's just an example of how you can do it.